It is time for another edition of the Sharp Sport here off BettingPros.com. I'm your host, Matt Perrault. You guys probably know me from the Daily Juice podcast. And this week we're going from a little bit of a different angle here. Jonathan Michaels is the Senior Vice President for Strategic Development and Government Affairs at Sightline Payments. You guys probably know this as PlayPlus if you've used this before. Jonathan, thank you for taking the time. This is going to be a really fun conversation because you guys are doing some very, very cool things at Sightline.
Well, thank you for having me, Matt. Certainly an exciting time. The payments business isn't usually the hottest, issue across the gaming industry, but certainly over the past year and a half, really since the pandemic started, it's really been thrust to the forefront of gaming.
If you could take a step back and just kind of talk about where PlayPlus came from, how did Sightline get into the business? If someone's never used your product or heard of you guys before, what's the elevator pitch to the public from a Sightline perspective?
Sure. So the history of the company, we were founded in 2011, right in Las Vegas, where you're based. And we were founded to help take casinos cashless. And 10 years ago, the world was a very different place for the gaming industry. And very quickly, the company pivoted to really open up the New Jersey online casino market. So certainly when you're opening up a digital, part of gaming, you need digital payments, because if you cannot fund accounts or take money out, you have nothing. At the time, issuing banks were very critical of gaming transactions because of everything that happened on Black Friday and UGA and concerns around the Wire Act and all that. Sightline really developed an innovative solution to allow for acceptance to occur in the New Jersey online market. And certainly that steadily grew. And then 2018 happened. So May of 2018, PASPA gets invalidated by the Supreme Court, and we're rolling. And we did a lot of leadership with financial institutions, with card networks to unlock acceptance for gaming transactions, to really enable people to enjoy mobile sports books. Because, there's solutions where you could put cash in, so like a, pay near me type solution. But most people are saying, I just want to fund my account using my debit card and play. So where PlayPlus comes in is really that cash out part. We provide a quick and easy access to your funds. So you would sign up for a PlayPlus account, fund it, and transfer money into your wagering account. Let's say we were talking, it's a Tuesday in November, so you have to be betting on Maction tonight. Let's say you win a nice bit of money on your Maction parlay tonight, and you want to transfer those funds back to your account. Now, traditionally, whether you're using, most people use what's called ACH to transfer that, and it'll generally take a couple days. With PlayPlus, you can transfer those funds right away, and then we will send you a debit card from whatever operator you use, and you're able to use that debit card anywhere a Discover or MasterCard is accepted. Because it's a debit account, you can take it out and use it as cash. I don't know why you would, because you could spend it the same way you would anyway. So That's where most people know us in terms of that PlayPlus account. We're in pretty much every single sports book across the United States from a mobile side. And then recently, earlier in 2021, because of the pandemic, we launched cashless casino opportunities. First at Boyd Gaming, at their Aliante property in Las Vegas, and then at Resorts World Las Vegas this June. So, really focused on how we bring those digital payment solutions across the gaming industry.
How did the pandemic change and or amplify, accelerate? How did it change the business model for you guys and the interest in taking cash out of the hands of the consumer and making it more digitized?
So one of my favorite things, prior to joining Sightline earlier this year, I spent about 7 years at the American Gaming Association. And, the old joke in Las Vegas was, none of the casinos have locks because they never close. Well, they closed. They closed for nearly 100 days, right? And we all changed how we did business. When you have the governor of Nevada, Steve Sisolak, saying, wherever possible, use digital payment methods, and you have this huge industry in his state, the biggest industry in his state, that's completely cash-based, something's got to move. And I think everyone got really comfortable, whether it's contactless, whether it's, Apple Pay, whether it's, I have a Garmin watch that I use to pay all the time. We all got very comfortable with that and said, why would we go back to the way things were? And you even see the data from, large processors like WorldPay, who said in 2020, cash was only 20% of retail point of sale transactions. And that's going to keep going down to 13% by 2024. The world's moving away from cash.
What does that do from a casino and or sportsbook perspective? Is there more acceptance on the cashless side, on the casino side? Is it more accepted on the sportsbook side? Because I know when I went to New Jersey, back in 2019, I came away and I came back to Vegas going, this is incredible how easy it is to fund accounts and to open accounts and do everything touchless. Here in Vegas, we still have that big debate about how to sign up customers. We'll get to the casino side of it in a second, but is there more friction on one side or the other when it comes to acceptance of cashless payments?
Oh, I think the digital operators are far advanced in this, right? Because the first thing you do, we like to call payments is the front door of your sports book, right? You sign up for an account, you get verified, and you immediately go to a cashier page to fund your account. And that's the process with it. And without digital payments, mobile sports betting really doesn't work. People would still just use their bookie or offshore or wherever they were doing that to enable it. I think on the casino side, they're getting comfortable with it because of the success they're seeing on the digital side. So, whether it be fraud or chargebacks or things like that, it's much lower than a lot of people anticipated on the sportsbook and online casino side, which is giving comfort to the casino side to do that. Now, there are certainly a lot more barriers on the casino side because, your front door is not just the cashier page, it's your entire property. And educate your staff, and you have to work with regulators to bring, really good solutions to bear. So I would say the digital side is 100% there. I mean, you see upwards of 90% acceptance on debit transactions on the digital side. I think on the brick and mortar side, you have cashless casinos live in 8 states now. That's going to continue to grow. I think within the next 2 years, every major casino operator in the U.S. will have a cashless option. But I think it's going to take time to get consumer adoption to where it is on the digital side.
Now, you mentioned the Aliante property here in Vegas was the first one to go, and then Resorts World, which just recently opened up. And so that's the first strip property that has a cashless option. What have you seen from that from an acceptance standpoint? Anything that was a hurdle that you weren't anticipating that popped up? I mean, how has it gone so far at Resorts World with your system in place?
So I would say the early returns are really positive. Consumers want this. We know that from what we've seen. I recently saw data from the American Gaming Association where upwards of 90% of high frequency, high spend guests are interested in utilizing digital payments. You see things like that, and we really did see a significant uplift when Resorts World opened. The challenge that exists there is we spent a ton of time helping educate staff when the property opened. And it's really important to keep going to them as you get new staff, as people get into their roles and get comfortable, to really help educate them on what's going on. I think it will take time for widespread adoption because it is a bit clunky, we'll say, particularly in the sign-up process, because you do need to sign up and verify your account on premise today. We're hopeful that will change in the near term, but where we're really focused on is, okay, now that we've launched, what are the things that we can do to really help move this forward and make it better for consumers? That's something our product team thinks about every day. That's something that I think about every day from a regulatory perspective.
Do you see a day where you'll be able to, and I know the sportsbook side of things has a very large fight going on here in Nevada, and we didn't get mobile sign up during the pandemic. So are we going to get mobile sign up ever here? I don't know, but could you see a time when you could sign up for a PlayPlus casino account without having to be on premise?
Yes. So we've actually submitted for a regulatory change in Nevada. There should be a hearing on that with at least the Gaming Control Board and a workshop over the course of the next few weeks. But what we're looking to do is modify the current regulation, which requires an in-person ID verification for casino and cashless wagering accounts, and move that to digital options, knowledge-based authentication, biometrics, and the like, to really enable people, like myself, who don't live in Las Vegas, to create an account, sign up for it, fund that account, and then when I get on property, I want to do what came to Las Vegas to do, which is to have fun and not necessarily stand in line. What we find is the sign-up process at Resorts World could take anywhere between 7 minutes and an hour if you have to do different verification or there's a line at the cage and all that stuff. Our goal is to really make that a 3-minute sign-up process where you're able to get through all this, fund your account, and be ready to play.
That has to be something that, I know there's a big debate on the sports book side of things where you're at your house. Certain properties want you to be physically on the floor and having to come to the casino in order to sign up for an account. Well, you have to be on the floor to gamble on their tables and slot machines, right? So wouldn't that would be pretty simple. And there's a lot of some advantageous opportunities there. If you could tell a customer that's going to be staying on your property, hey, sign up for an account, fund your account before you even get here, and literally the second you walk through the door, you can start playing on the gaming floor. That seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I think both from an operator perspective and a patron perspective. Let's say I want to take $2,000 with me. I don't necessarily want to take out $2,000 in cash and travel with it. I could also set a budget. I can understand what I spent. Certainly, if I say I want to get more money, you could do that with cash anyway, even if you're bringing that type of money with you. But, you're really able to set your trip up. And, whether that's, you're staying at Resorts World and say, this is all I'm spending, soup to nuts. You could use your PlayPlus account on the gaming floor, at restaurants, at retail, to pay for your room, entertainment, wherever across the property. So I think it really gives customers more utility for their money.
Now, just to be fair, the one part you left out is the one part I'm the most curious about, and that's the sports book side of things. So do you ever see a day where we're going to have an opportunity to sign up for an account and do everything on property, sports book included?
Well, here's the thing. The world's going to keep changing, right? And there's rumors about DraftKings buying a Las Vegas, casino. Boyd has a great partnership with FanDuel. I think that as sports betting continues to grow, and certainly, right across the border from you in Arizona, the early returns have been tremendous on sports betting. There will be no fewer than 4 ballot initiatives in California. Not that I think any of those will pass, but you're going to see a lot of activity around that. And Nevada has to continue to find ways to innovate. They're the gold standard for the gaming industry. And finding ways to reinvent itself is what Las Vegas does best. So I think there's a lot of things that will continue to change over the next few years. As sports betting grows nationally, as new players enter the Las Vegas market. MGM and Caesars announced this week they're both going to be selling strip properties. Who knows who's going to buy those?
Yeah, it's a really good point. All right, so that's kind of where we are, Jonathan. Where are we going? What is looking over the horizon a little bit as to what Sightline is developing and what PlayPlus is going to look like in the coming years, not just in Nevada, but across the entire country. What excites you? What is going on behind the scenes for you guys as to what customers will see in the near future? Sure.
The biggest thing I think that excites me and us is Omnichannel. So you have your sports betting account with whatever operator you're using. Being able to use those same funds in the same account and earn the same loyalty across digital and brick and mortar, I think is huge. Penn National Gaming in I think it was their Q2 Investor Day deck. They had a slide in there on Greektown, which they own in Detroit. Customers who visited Greektown and played online were 3 times more valuable than a customer that just did one of those. So people want to get the experience wherever they are. Some days it might be on your couch, and some days it might be, I want to go to the casino and play. But how do you give people those opportunities, allow them to track their play, allow them to earn loyalty points, and really provide that tremendous experience that you see in so many other venues? I think that's where the future of this is going, particularly as more and more of the big casino operators really invest heavily on their sportsbook side. I think the digital-only folks surprised them at the outset, and now a lot of them are playing catch-up. I give Caesars huge credit for their Caesars Sportsbook campaign. Just this morning, they signed the Manning family as ambassadors, so they are all in on the Louisiana market as where they have the largest property in the state anyway, and the largest database. But I think you're going to start to see the operators that really embrace that omni-channel view of the world do a much better job of attracting customers.
It's wild because I think from a digital standpoint, I think so much of what we do anyway is on our phones. So I feel like the acceptance of gaming on your phone and having it be just, part of a digital wallet, if you will, is really something that I I think the next generation, even my generation, feels very comfortable doing and very comfortable having it be accepting. As more states come on board, are they looking at the old way or the new way? I mean, do you feel like the newer states are more accepting of technology, or are they looking at the way that, well, Nevada did it for years, let's copy what Nevada did?
I think it depends on the state, really. So two states I will call out as being really innovative: Wyoming and Arizona, 2 markets that just launched. So Wyoming, in their payments regulations, they allow for crypto as a funding method. They have not formalized the regulations to allow for that. I mean, certainly there are questions around, anti-money laundering, know your customer, all these other buzzwords that we in the industry use that customers don't need to worry about. But in Wyoming, you will be able to fund your account via crypto at some point in the near future. Arizona didn't go as far as to include that, but they talked about it. But they pretty much said, we want to provide our customers with the same convenience and choice that they have across their day-to-day lives. And both of those markets are not commercial casino markets. Arizona certainly has very successful tribal properties. Wyoming has a couple smaller ones, but they're not traditional gaming states, so they're looking at it a bit different. I mean, from the mature market perspective, Dave Rebuck and what his team in New Jersey do on a day in, day out basis, I think is tremendous, because they took a view after Atlantic City, and I'm originally a Jersey guy, so it's near and dear to my heart. After the recession, Atlantic City got hit really hard. So they wanted to be the forefront of all things gaming. And you see $1 billion in sports betting handle. No one thought that was possible. You see what they're doing on the online casino market, which now I think last month paid more in taxes than brick and mortar casinos. You're going to start to see innovation, and it's the job of people like me to help bring that to bear in new markets.
So let me roll it back here for a second, because I think if I'm someone listening in a different part of the country and I'm coming to Vegas for my, I feel comfortable traveling now. And I think 2022, we are expecting some really big numbers. And I mean, I haven't traveled home to Boston in 2 years, and I'm traveling for Thanksgiving. So I think a lot of people are starting to kind of come back to the idea of coming to Vegas and really being excited about it. If I'm going to Resorts World, what does it look like when I'm walking up to a table? Say I've gone through the process, I've registered, I have my account, my PlayPlus account to gamble. How does it work when I approach the table, where normally I'm used to throwing down my $100 and getting $100 in chips, or I'm playing on a craps table and I'm putting my chips around? How does it work digitally when I walk to a table?
So it's funny, because sports bettors tend to be table game players, so you're very on brand with that. I didn't expect you to be a slot player, Matt.
No, not really.
So, right, we all have these. We carry them everywhere. You get to see my daughter there. So there's a Resorts World Las Vegas app that was developed by JoinGo, who's a Sightline Payments company. Essentially what that does is it's your front door to everything across the property. So I don't know about you, but I don't remember the last time I actually remembered a loyalty card for a property. Now I will never forget it as long as I don't lose my phone. So my Resorts World loyalty card is right in the app. My PlayPlus account is in the app. I can track my comps. I can track my points. I can track my level. I can make restaurant reservations, all that. So what you would do is you would download the Resorts World Las Vegas app right away. Once you get on property, Resorts World doesn't actually have a loyalty desk. They have loyalty kiosks. So you would go to a loyalty kiosk and register your account for your loyalty card. That would populate into your Resorts World app. Once you go through the loyalty process, it would ask you, do you want to sign up for a cashless wagering account in PlayPlus? Let's say you would hit yes to that. You would go through that process. So our solution is essentially a debit solution. So you would go through full, essentially like you would sign up for an account. You give your social security number, you go through knowledge-based authentication, all that stuff. You'd hopefully make it through all that and sign the screen. Sometimes the knowledge-based authentication says you got to go to the cage to get verified. So somebody has to look at your ID. Once you go through all that, you fund your account. You would fund it using most major debit cards, credit cards, PayPal are the different options that you have in Nevada. And then you'd be able to utilize the app to do that. So in the app, they have a thing called cashless activities. So you'd click on that, and at the bottom, it would say table games rating and buying. You'd click on that. Let's say you want to put $100, 100, type in your PIN, hit confirm, a QR code would show up, and then the dealer would have a QR reader, scan that, and give you the chips. So the great part about Resorts World is actually the process of getting your chips back into your account. So we've all grabbed the chips from the table, walked them to the cage, and there's 30 people there. And that just takes time. I don't want to do that. Resorts World, they give you 3 options. You could still do that with the chips and wait in line. You can get a Tito ticket, which you can take to any table game or slot machine, or you can take that over to the sports book, the Doghouse Saloon over at Resorts World, and use that there. Or you can push it right back to your PlayPlus account, and it's there instantly. So you can use that at a bar or restaurant, at another table game, at a slot, wherever you want to use it. So really, it's that QR code, and it works similarly on a slot machine as well, is really your gateway to doing that. And both from a patron perspective, I don't need to worry about the chips falling out of my pocket or me forgetting them, because we've all done that. And from a property perspective, they don't need to fill the chips as much. So we all have been sitting there in the middle of a great run on a blackjack shoe. Stop, we have to refill the chips. And you're like, come on, guys, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Right. So they have to do fewer of those because the chips just aren't leaving the table.
It's really interesting because one of the things that, I would think would be, and somebody mentioned this to me. So you technically don't have to even touch the chips, right? I mean, you have a dealer, you hold your phone up, you tell them whatever to do. Like, you would never have to touch the chips if you didn't want to touch the chips, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to have to touch the chips. That's part of one of the things that we get all the time as well. Having the cash in your hands is just part of the fun of gaming. And that's fine. If people want to do that, by all means, our whole business is by giving people choice. Right. But, we all sit there and you play with your chips, but, you tip the, bartenders and
dealers,
the dealer whenever you have a great hand or anything like that. You're still generally going to touch the chips. I think where you start to see that doesn't come into play is the rise of electronic table games, which are becoming more and more prevalent, both in Nevada and other jurisdictions, because you can get the same gameplay, but you don't have to, have the staffing that you need for a table game.
Yeah, I think from a streamlining standpoint, I just think it's such an interesting idea because it takes a lot of the nuanced arguments or the barriers, I should say, to playing away. Like, you want people to come in and play, not be in line, right? You want them to be on the floor, going to restaurants and bars, into your, gaming floors, into your sports books and whatnot, not sitting in line. Right. So this kind of removes at least that wasting of time, to call it, for lack of a better term. Yeah. Right.
One of my favorite things, one of my first trips back, we'll call it after the pandemic started, was in April. And I stayed at Aria. And MGM launched their app where you can do full remote check-in to the hotel. And instead of standing in the line that takes 30 or 45 minutes, you say you're here. They let you know when your room is ready. You have a digital key and you don't have to talk to anybody. And I think what we see in our daily lives is we just look for convenience like that. And I think that's what digital payments can really help provide for guests, because for a lot of people, myself included, getting cash is a hassle. Yeah. I'm a Bank of America customer. The nearest Bank of America is 15 minutes from my house. I do know was one Bank of America on the Las Vegas Strip, which is the 5th floor of the M&M World. Don't ask me how I know that, but that's where it was. At least, but it's because I didn't want to pay a $15 fee to take it. It's just all of those things eventually go away. And even with Resorts World right now, there is a fee to load your account. It's 2.95%. In most jurisdictions, PlayPlus, there is no fee to load your sports betting or online casino account, and that fee is generally dictated by the operator. But I think as this grows and scales, I think you'll generally see those go away, because at the end of the day, what do you want to do if you're a property? You want people to come there. You want them to have fun and find value in what you're offering.
How much of a magnifying glass do you guys feel like you have on you in Vegas? Well, where all the other properties are watching what you're doing with Resorts World, and if it takes off, that this is a monkey see, monkey do town, and if one place has it, everyone has to have it. So how much of it is it like where you want to see Resorts World really succeed at this, and then watch everybody else come on board?
I mean, you said it right there. It's a monkey see, monkey do town. I think there's a huge microscope on our backs from all the other properties, but there's also a big target, right?
Yeah.
You get this shiny new toy in town, and we're incredibly proud of what we've developed there, really alongside a lot of partners like Resorts World, Rick Hutchins and his team on the operations side. They had a vision, man, and they've really delivered on it. And then, working with folks like Konami on their casino management system, working with NRT, who has the kiosks, Genesis on the table game system side. You have all of these groups that need to come together to deliver this solution. And I think that everyone's looking at how it's going to be successful. And certainly, you've been in this business long enough to know there's a lot of cynics around. And it's going to take time for this to really take off and be adopted. And I think a lot of that is the consumer experience and how that all works. So it's early days in this, still like it's early days in the sports betting business. So adoption will take time. But if you look at the rest of the world, it's gone digital. Once you get that experience to the right place, I don't see any reason why it won't take off.
I think it's literally just having somebody use it and learn it, because it's kind of, I feel like the same way that I felt about Uber in the beginning, where I think in the beginning people were like, man, am I really going to get into a car with a complete stranger and like not know that person? And like, he's driving like a Nissan Sentra. Like, am I really going to be doing that? And now it's just very common and everyone just does it without even blinking an eye. We're all doing it. And I think eventually that's what will happen with this, where people will be like, I don't want to have to go to a cage. I don't want to wait in line. I want to just be able to go fund it here, walk up here, scan my code and start playing. Exactly. I think it's just most like getting it into the hands of the consumer to use it. Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just how you use that. And that's why staff is so critical to help tell the story, because we can't be anywhere. You could visit our website and there's some videos on how to use it, but the staff does the best job. And, certainly with going back to the Resorts World team, they invested time in learning the system, and it showed, because the way they looked at it was, we don't want to have our pit bosses looking at how much you're betting and, the frequency of it. We want to know that. We want the pit bosses to interact with you and make sure you're having a good time.
Right.
It's
right.
The name of we're in the customer service business. We're in the hospitality business. I think cashless can revolutionize the way that we interact with our guests to really personalize experiences, and then also provide real responsible gaming tools and technologies that help people understand what they're spending, because there are plenty of people out there that could probably spend more. And there are plenty of people out there that probably are spending more than they should. So how do you balance those two together? Arm people with data, enable them to see what's going on. And at the end of the day, I think that giving players tools and resources and knowledge about their play will bear fruit for everybody.
Yeah, that's where I kind of want to end it with that conversation, because I think it's such an interesting idea of being able to track, because so often, on the Daily Juice podcast that I do, the other pod that I do, we talk a lot about tracking your wagers and watching what you're doing, and flat wagering and money market and money management, and understanding where you're spending your money and how you're doing over the course of a long period of time, not a 1 day or 1 week, but more like a 1 month or 1 year type of look at your gaming and your gambling and your picks and your plays. It feels like digital and what you guys are doing will really ramp that up, and people can be very accurate with what they're losing or winning and how much money they've had in play.
Exactly. And it's just, knowledge is power, right? And the parlor trick I always like to do is bring up one of my sports betting accounts, and within 1 minute, I can figure out the amount of money I've wagered and lost in my case. It's not much, but you know what? Here's the thing. It gives me the information to say, does this make sense for me? And if I think I need to set deposit limits, I can do that in 2 other clicks. And arming people with that sort of power really, I think helps ensure people wager responsibly. And I think on the casino side, certainly where you have everything in cash, it's really difficult to track that. I mean, generally you don't have any idea on it. So at the end of the day, casinos exist to make money. And how do they make money? People lose there, but people also win, right? And whether that's my entertainment spend is, I love college sports. I'm a University of Maryland alum. Going to Terps games or going to MGM National Harbor down the street. It's my entertainment spend, and I'm going to enjoy it and all of that. I just want to understand what I'm spending, and I really think that digital payments can do that. We actually signed a partnership with UNLV alongside Global Payments to fund a research initiative to look at years of payments data and say, what might say that somebody has a problem? Is it different deposit limits? Is it timing? Is it, different amounts? Like, just give us the knowledge to do that. And I think as digital payments becomes more widespread in casinos, you're going to see more and more studies like that, and more technology be put into place behind the scenes that help people that might need it.
That's really good. Yeah, it's great news and really good use of the data that's out there to be able to help people who do need to stop. And we often say that, hey, when it's no longer fun, walk away and stop playing because something is up for whatever reason. Just take a break if you need to for a while. Jonathan, this was really, really fun. If folks want to find out more information about PlayPlus and more information about what you guys do at Sightline, how can they go and find it?
So 2 websites I'll give you. SightlinePayments.com is our company's website, but our main solution is PlayPlus. That's playplusgo.com. You can learn more there, and certainly you have a lot of sports bettors that listen to this, so You'll find us in pretty much I think every Nevada operator's payment stack, and most nationally as well.
Jonathan, thank you for the time. Really appreciate you coming on this week.
Thank you, Matt. Great to speak with you.